Take a bullet for some and take this dope on this jet. Out of town, put it down for the father of rap.
Snoop Dogg's journey through the music industry is filled with highs, lows, and some of the most controversial moments in hip-hop history. From his early days at Death Row Records to his fallout with Suge Knight, his trial for murder, and his transformation into Snoop Lion, Snoop's story is one of reinvention and resilience.
Do that dance, so do that dance. Do that dance, so do that dance.
The beef with Suge Knight and the Death Row era. The tension between Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight has been one of the most infamous feuds in hip-hop. It all started when Snoop became one of the biggest stars on Death Row Records, alongside Tupac Shakur and Dr. Dre. According to Suge, Snoop was jealous of Tupac's meteoric rise to fame, and their relationship soured over time. Suge claimed that Snoop envied Tupac, and that became evident when Snoop's second studio album, Tha Dogfather, didn't feature Tupac at all. Meanwhile, Tupac himself had a falling out with Dr. Dre, which added to the growing divide within Death Row. Suge believed that Tupac's success overshadowed Snoop's, leading to internal jealousy. After Tupac's death in 1996, Death Row Records started to fall apart. Dr. Dre had already left the label, and Snoop followed suit in 1998, signing with No Limit Records. Before his departure, Snoop was allegedly offered $1 million to release an album titled F Death Row, but Master P convinced him not to go down that road, fearing for his safety. Suge Knight took Snoop's departure as a betrayal, accusing him of abandoning the label during its downfall. He would later mock Snoop in interviews, saying, "He used to be a superstar, and now he's just a no-limit soldier." In response, Snoop fired back, pointing out that Suge went from a powerful CEO to an inmate. Snoop's murder trial and the case that almost ruined him. In 1993, at the peak of his career, Snoop Dogg faced a murder charge that could have ended everything before it truly began. It all started with an altercation between Snoop's bodyguard, McKinley Lee, and a gang member named Philip Woldemariam. This wasn't just a regular criminal case. It became a national spectacle. The media painted Snoop as the embodiment of gangster rap's violent reputation. His hit song, "Murder Was the Case," was even used against him in court, with prosecutors arguing that he glorified violence. Suge Knight stepped in, helping Snoop post $1 million bail, but the trial dragged on, adding stress and uncertainty to Snoop's career. Interscope Records hired the best lawyers to defend him, and after extensive legal battles, he was acquitted of all charges in 1996. The verdict was a huge relief, but it also marked a turning point for Snoop. He realized that he needed to move differently. His association with gangs had put him in a dangerous position, and he knew he had to evolve if he wanted longevity in the industry. This realization played a role in his decision to leave Death Row and adopt a more laid-back player persona instead of continuing down a path that could lead to destruction. Reuniting with Dr. Dre and working with Pharrell, after leaving Death Row, Snoop Dogg joined Master P's No Limit Records. While he maintained success, many fans longed for the magic he had with Dr. Dre. That reunion finally happened in 1999 when Dre produced 3 songs on Snoop's No Limit Top Dog album, including BH Please, which reignited their chemistry. Their real comeback, however, came in 2001 when Snoop played a major role in Dr. Dre's album 2001. He was featured on Still DRE and The Next Episode, both of which became timeless classics. This era solidified their legendary status, proving that their musical chemistry was still unmatched. As the 2000s progressed, Snoop embraced a more commercial sound, leading to a collaboration with Pharrell Williams. They worked together on Beautiful in 2002, but their biggest hit came in 2004 with Drop It Like It's Hot.
Just like Ron Isley. What the hell is going on? Someone sleeping in my home.
The song became one of Snoop's most successful tracks, introducing his music to a new generation. Snoop credited Pharrell for helping him transition into a smoother, more radio-friendly artist. He no longer had to rely on gangsta rap to stay relevant. Instead, he evolved into a mainstream superstar with hits spanning multiple genres. This move extended his career far beyond what many of his 90s peers achieved. Snoop's 213 group and his solo success. Before Snoop Dogg became a household name, he was part of the legendary trio 213, alongside Nate Dogg and Warren G. Named after the Long Beach area code, 213 was a crucial stepping stone for all three artists. They developed their signature styles together in the late 80s and early 90s, creating smooth G-funk melodies that would later define West Coast hip-hop. However, despite their chemistry, the group never officially released an album during their early years. It wasn't until 2004 that 213 finally dropped their long-awaited project, The Hard Way. The album was a nostalgic throwback to their roots, featuring classic G-funk beats and laid-back storytelling. Songs like Groupie Love and So Fly reminded fans why their chemistry was unmatched. Though The Hard Way was a commercial success, it was clear that Snoop's solo career had already reached another level. By the time of 213's official album, Snoop had already cemented himself as a dominant force in hip-hop. Tracks like Drop It Like It's Hot, I Wanna Love You with Akon, and Young, Wild and Free with Wiz Khalifa showcased his ability to evolve with the times while staying true to his laid-back West Coast roots. He seamlessly adapted to different eras and collaborations, proving his versatility. While 213 was a defining moment in his early career, Snoop's solo success ultimately made him one of the most influential figures in music history. The death of Nate Dogg. One of the most devastating losses in hip-hop was the passing of Nate Dogg in 2011. Nate wasn't just another artist. His voice was the soul of G-Funk, crafting some of the most iconic hooks in rap history. Snoop and Nate had been close since their teenage years, growing up together in Long Beach and forming 213. Their bond extended beyond music. They were brothers in every sense of the word. Nate Dogg's deep, melodic vocals gave West Coast hip-hop its signature smoothness. His collaborations with Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Warren G resulted in timeless classics like Regulate, Ain't No Fun, If the Homies Can't Have None, and The Next Episode.
Say what?
His voice wasn't just recognizable, it was irreplaceable. Tragically, Nate suffered multiple strokes that left him paralyzed, shocking the hip-hop world. His health rapidly declined, and in March 2011, he passed away at the young age of 41. Snoop took to social media to express his heartbreak, calling Nate one of the greatest artists of all time. To keep Nate's memory alive, Snoop continued to perform their classic collaborations, ensuring his friend's legacy would never fade. He even honored him through music and tributes, emphasizing how much Nate's voice shaped an entire genre. His passing marked the end of an era, but Snoop made sure that the world would never forget the magic of Nate Dogg's voice and contribution to hip-hop. Snoop Lion, the Bob Marley phase. In one of the most unexpected transformations in hip-hop history, Snoop Dogg temporarily shed his gangster rap persona to embrace reggae and spirituality. In 2012, after a trip to Jamaica, he announced that he was no longer Snoop Dogg but Snoop Lion, a name he claimed was given to him by a Rastafarian priest. He described this phase as a personal and artistic rebirth, one where he sought to spread messages of peace, love, and unity rather than gang culture and street life. His reggae album, Reincarnated, was released in 2013, accompanied by a documentary of the same name that followed his journey into the Rastafarian lifestyle. The album featured tracks like No Guns Allowed, Lighters Up, and Here Comes the King, which carried strong themes of anti-violence, social justice, and self-improvement. Collaborating with reggae artists like Mavado and Popcorn, Snoop fully immersed himself in the culture, even adopting traditional Rastafarian attire and speaking in Jamaican patois during interviews. Despite his enthusiasm, the Snoop Lion era was met with mixed reactions. While some appreciated his attempt at reinvention, others, including reggae purists, saw it as cultural appropriation or a mere publicity stunt. Hip-hop fans were also divided. Some admired his versatility, while others dismissed it as inauthentic. By 2014, Snoop left the reggae scene and returned to his West Coast roots, marking the end of the short-lived Snoop Lion experiment, owning Death Row and Suge Knight's reaction. In 2022, Snoop Dogg shocked the industry by acquiring Death Row Records, the same label that made him famous in the 90s but also nearly destroyed him. This was more than just a business move. It was a redemption arc that brought his career full circle. During its prime, Death Row was the most powerful label in hip-hop, launching the careers of Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Tupac Shakur. However, it was also plagued by controversy, largely due to Suge Knight's aggressive leadership. Snoop had a turbulent relationship with the label, especially after Tupac's death in 1996. Feeling unsafe, he left for No Limit Records, marking the end of his death row era. When Snoop took ownership, he wasted no time making changes. He pulled Death Row's classic catalog from streaming platforms and announced plans to rebrand it as an NFT-driven label. His goal was to modernize Death Row while preserving its legacy. However, Suge Knight wasn't impressed. Speaking from prison, he downplayed Snoop's acquisition, claiming that he wasn't the real boss and that he had simply taken advantage of a business deal. Despite Suge's disapproval, Snoop's ownership of Death Row symbolized his resilience. After decades of industry turmoil, he now controlled the brand that shaped his early career. It was the ultimate power move, one that proved Snoop wasn't just a hip-hop legend, but also a savvy businessman with a vision for the future. Snoop Dogg's journey is one of the most remarkable in hip-hop history. From a young gangster rapper under the shadow of Death Row to a mainstream superstar and business mogul, he has continuously adapted while staying true to himself. He survived industry beef, legal troubles, and the changing tides of music trends, proving his longevity time and time again. His acquisition of Death Row Records was more than just a financial decision. It was a statement. It showed his ability to rise above past conflicts and reclaim his legacy on his own terms. Meanwhile, the loss of Nate Dogg reminded him of how much the hip-hop world had changed. But Snoop ensured that the memories and contributions of his late friend would never be forgotten. Whether through music, movies, or business ventures, Snoop continues to evolve. With Death Row now under his control, his influence extends far beyond just rapping. He's a cultural icon, a media personality, and an entrepreneur shaping the future of entertainment. And one thing remains certain: Snoop Dogg isn't done yet. His story is still being written, and the world will be watching to see what he does next.